Bienvenidos. This is the Paseo podcast. If you can hear the straining in my voice, it's because even though I'm a young person, my technology brain does not function all the time. So, I like to think I know technology. And usually it works in my favor, but man, I felt old these past few recordings because shit, technology has not worked out well. Ideally, you'd see me on camera right now. Things don't always work perfectly, but I do know a bunch of people that work perfectly together. And that's why for this episode, we actually invited the whole committee, or most of the committee, as I understand it, that's responsible for planning the Puerto Rican Festival this year here in Chicago. So rather than me doing all the intros, we got like 5 guests. We're just going to go around in a circle here. Brianna, we can start with you. Why don't you just give a quick intro? What should our audience know about you?
My name is Brianna Ramirez. I am Director of Consumer Affairs for the Puerto Rican Festival. A Puerto Rican who saw a need in the community and wanted to step up and help out with the fest that I've always loved and enjoyed as a child. So here we are.
Diaz-Arce. I'm the Director of Logistics and Operations, born and raised here in Humboldt Park, and also co-head of Lolita Productions.
Carlos Jimenez Flores, Executive Director of the Puerto Rican Festival, and just excited to be part of something that means a lot to the community.
My name is Sabrina Alifera. I'm the Director of Arts and Education for the Puerto Rican Festival, Director of Smyser-DeLeon, and I just wanted to keep art and culture at the center of all that we do.
My name is Melanie Lopez. I am the Director of branding, and I am the Community Liaison for Somos Arte. And this opportunity has definitely given me the push and the drive to learn more about my Puerto Rican side.
All right, I love it. Well, thank you all for making the time to get here. I know it's not easy for one person to normally plan their schedules. Y'all had to make 5 different schedules work to be here. We got a lot to cover. So I just want to start just kind of high level view here. Tell us, when and where is the Puerto Rican Festival taking place this year?
So the festival this year is September 23rd to the 26th. We are hosting 2 private events on the 23rd, 4, on the 23rd and the 24th here at the Field House in Humboldt Park. And then the actual festival is going to be Saturday, September 25th and Sunday, September 26th. The entrance is going to be on Division and Marine Drive.
Got it. Okay. Well, can you refresh my memory? How many years has the festival taken place for? I know you all haven't been planning the festival for more than, this will be your second festival. So I know you all haven't been planning it for, a decade. You're a relatively new leadership committee. So just for context, how long has the Puerto Rican Festival taken place?
39 years.
39 years?
Yeah.
And so the festival is taking place, starting on Thursday, the 23rd, then going on for those next 4 days to that Sunday. And there's other things happening beyond what people might be traditionally used to when they walk into the park. On the California side of Humboldt Park. Give us a sense of what people can expect when they walk into Humboldt Park for the Puerto Rican Festival this year. And give us a sense of what they can experience when they'll be walking into the field house.
On Thursday and Friday, we're going to be in the field house having what we call private dinners, where people will buy a ticket to come to the dinner. The dinner itself will be in the main ballroom. And then in the gyms, we will have Lolita's Bodega and Somos Arte. We're also going to have films from the Lolita Film Festival, and we're going to have some live music as well.
And food as well. So the name of the event is on the 23rd and the 24th. It's called Fuego en el 23 y 24. And it's really to cater to a smaller crowd of people. The goal of these events is to only have a capacity of 50 people and for them to be able to enjoy the festival without having to be around large crowds. Because we also understand that it is still very prevalent and we want to be able to still offer stuff to those who might be just kind of wary of being with a lot of people. So those events are capped at 50. We have two spots every evening of 2 hours. So that event, you come in, you'll be able to have some food, watch some films, watch some live art, shop from local creatives and vendors. And then there's also going to be COVID checking at the entrance, and that is the Thursday and Friday.
So the food is going to be cooked by Chef Roberto Perez.
Yes.
All right, you forgot the lead.
Marissa was
I
going to share.
I know. I was there. This
But
is
it's
all
very
planned.
important. It's very important that we say that we have commissioned
Yes.
Chef Roberto Perez of Urban Pilon, who's an executive chef at La Criolla, and he will be the one that will make the feast happen.
Yes. Sorry about that. Can we just go back and just start that off?
You got it, no problem. Got you. Well, okay, this sounds really interesting because growing up in Humboldt Park, the Puerto Rican Festival was, you just kind of walk to the park, carnival, of course, live music, food. And it didn't really feel as expansive as I think it could have been. What would you say are some of the new additions to the festival this year that might not have been present in previous years?
Or when I thought about the festival, when people would come, it felt like a lot of Puerto Ricans in one place, right? And so you might have had Puerto Rican food and maybe some vendors, but the thing that we're trying to do is be more intentional with culture. So we are being intentional about the vendors that Lolita Production brings in. We're being intentional about bringing in artists who are Puerto Rican who celebrate the culture and heritage, the music. Everything is way more intentional about centering culture with everything that we do. That's how I feel.
And the variances of culture, I think, is important as well. Before it was just music and food, right? And then you had vendors that were artesanos, artisans, but they were kind of marginalized. And I think that we're trying to bring back what the culture actually is, which is music as in bomba. We are going to have car clubs. We're going to have a car show, which is part of Humboldt Park culture and the island culture. The music is artists direct from PR. The vendors themselves, it's all about 90% all small businesses or artesanos. So we're not focusing on those who go from fest to fest, and we don't knock their hustle at all. But what you're spending on something that's made in China, you could really support a family here that is working hard to just follow their dreams. The same thing with artists.
And on top of that, really also bringing education to the forefront of what it is that we're providing in the community, that the festival will act as a resource, it's not just a party, even though we're really great at that.
And we like it.
And we like it, trust me. But it's also when you enter, you're not only going to be experiencing the live art or being able to see creatives create right there and then, hear music, taste the food, but having workshops. And so all the nonprofits that are participating are providing a free community workshop to those who are entering into the festival. And so we're going to be utilizing Little Wrigley to be able to hold baseball clinics and soccer clinics and disperse information. There's going to be college information, high school information, trade information, so all levels. And so there's going to be something for everybody to enjoy.
And also we're bringing the film component to the festival, which we did not get to do in 2019 because it rained every night. But we're going to bring films from Puerto Rico, short films, that people can just sit down, watch something that's 5, 10, 20 minutes long, and then they're not stuck in front of a screen for 2 hours. It's more like short films, so it can be like a hit and run. And we have the program, so they'll know which movie they want to see. They'll see it and keep moving. We offer a lot in our festival.
I really love hearing you guys talk about the festival because I feel like I can hear the excitement in your voices. I mean, I can see the excitement on your faces too. I mean, you can tell there's a lot of passion and care for the festival. I would love to hear from you all. What made you all want to get involved with organizing the festival these past couple of years? And just organizing the festival in general can be a behemoth. So, what made you want to say yes to taking a leadership role and stepping up? And what does the festival mean to you all personally? Does it hold any significant meaning?
So when the previous committee basically filed for bankruptcy and lost the building, um, along with it, the building, the parade, and the festival went down the drain. And so we knew that the community needed the festival because it's just a staple. People look forward to, especially it's the first big event after a long winter, and I think just it's a tradition. At this point, not having the festival would be, I don't know, it would be crazy, it'd be insane. And so not only was it put together in a short time with a great team that you see here in front of you, we also didn't have any money, so there was no budget. And it's been a struggle to scrape up the little we can and to create what has been created. And we're battling many different things. We don't have a home. It's not like we have a casa puertorriqueña where we can meet. Right now, we're meeting in the field house at the park. So we don't have a home. We started with no money in the budget. So, it's a big, steep mountain to climb. And there's no way, I can't think of a different set of people to come together to make it happen. I just can't. It just, who's here is here because they want to be here. This is all voluntary. Nobody's making any money. And we put so much time into this that it's literally a full-time job. And it is so difficult. I can't stress that enough, but I don't want to hog up the airtime. So whichever way you guys want to go. But.
I think for me, what made me want to, be alongside Carlos when he was, presented with the opportunity to be the executive director of the festival, and when he posed like, "Hey, is this something that you'd be interested in doing?" The little kid in me was like, "Yeah!" My dad used to work as a carny, one of the carnies, that the local carny, every time the festival would come into town. And so I remember as a child being able to see the setup of the carnival and running around the carnival area, looking for tickets and getting on rides for free because my dad worked there and they would let me hop on a ride. And then growing up and coming to the festival, Rihanna and I would, go since we were able to, get here on our own. We would frequent the festival. And so to be able to see it over an extended period of time, then to have an opportunity to really bring something new and different, because I felt like we deserve more, we deserve to be elevated and progress as we all have as Puerto Ricans. It has just been an honor and a pleasure, and it has been difficult. I have my days and my moments, but at the same time, it's just to be able to give back to the community is a beautiful thing, and hopefully it motivates younger people to also want to become involved and bring forth their talents and ideas and want to contribute, because it's not just us. It's not just for us, it's for everybody.
I think for me, it was a FOMO moment where Carlos said he was doing it, and Marissa was like, I'm doing it. And then I literally remember the day after a meeting, an agenda meeting, I went up to Carlos and I was like, I'm not in. And he was like, okay. And it's a sense of nostalgia. Being Puerto Rican and growing up in a neighborhood that is not fully Puerto Rican is coming to the Puerto Rican Festival allowed me to really celebrate pieces of me that did not get celebrated and that I had to tone down because I grew up in Lakeview and we were the loud people on the block. And coming to the fest here, I was home. I was able to be myself. and be loud and celebrate my culture, everyone was just as proud as me, or even more so. And it gave me a sense of belonging that I didn't have. And to be able to be on a team, to bring that forth when it's in danger of being lost, I couldn't pass by an opportunity to not participate.
I don't even think I could like say one thing that made me, everything that everybody said feels very familiar. And it's also like, I personally do things when I feel like they have a reason or like if they align with my morals and my values. Some of the things I value the most are my culture is huge. That's a big part of my life and my home. And I realized that when I moved out of Chicago, and I was like, oh wow, I really am a Chicago Puerto Rican, because I don't feel like I fit in anywhere else except for here. And it's true. and I value education, and education is huge, and education is all the different ways that we can be educated or educate ourselves. And being part of the festival is the opportunity to provide access to education and culture to our community and to celebrate it. I don't feel like Puerto Ricans, we're not celebrated very often. When people hear about us, it's like things that are happening on the island, and this second-class citizenship that happened, and all of us that are here because our families had to, for some reason or another, and uprooted everything and came over here. And so a moment to stop and be like, wow, our culture is really great. Our people are great. We can do so many amazing things. That's why I wanted to be a part of it.
So I started as a volunteer in 2019. I met the amazing jefas that you see sitting at the table with Carlos, and I kind of just like stuck around. It became one of those like, well, Mel's here. But I just, I love doing things when I'm not at work. Like I have to constantly be doing something. And my intention as I've gotten older is to do more community work, even though I've always done that. And so this amazing team that I've been asked to be a part of has been so much fun. The social media aspect has been, I don't even know how to describe it. It's been very interesting. It's pushed me to a different level of like structure for myself. But it's mostly like learning a lot about the culture. And that's what my biggest takeaway from this year has been. Because like I said, in 2019, I was volunteering, and then I was brought on this year as the director of branding. And it's been extremely fun though. Like today I just got off a call with another influencer that we're going to have take over the page. So seeing that the platform has grown on a social media level has been exciting, because it's grown into a page of like community, which I didn't know it was going to take that route. But it's so much fun to see that it's going that way, because then now we're able to expand that platform to other Puerto Ricans, not just in Chicago, but nationwide and on the island. So whoever's been following and seeing like the Takeover Tuesdays with the different influencers or businesses that are owned by Puerto Ricans, or just like even on the Black Fridays, like we want to use that platform to support and to get everybody excited for the festival. So that's why I love being on this team, because I'm so supported by everybody on the team with every decision that I make when it comes to social media.
Thanks for sharing all those candid thoughts, y'all. And besides COVID, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in organizing the festival?
Money.
Marissa's making it rain.
I'm gonna be honest, like everything that these women bring to the table is like phenomenal. Okay. The problem is we have no budget. We have no home. So we have to find places to meet, whether it's somebody's house, whether it's the park itself, somebody's office. We struggle a lot. Sometimes we meet in the parking lot. So the thing is, without money, it's like we have so many great ideas that we can't even implement half of them because we just don't have money. I can't stress that enough. And I know that people are gonna feel some type of way with us charging at the gate, but there's no other way to raise money for next year. You understand? And so if people have a little patience and see that the money's going right back to the community, you know what I'm saying? This is not for anybody but for the community itself. And we do so much, not only individually, not only as a cohesive unit, but there's also smaller compartments to the festival committee itself, like Lolita Productions, like Somos Arte, like the Boricua Film Festival, you know, and it's almost like a transformer. And so if we just can get over the hump of the financial situation, we would be mega dangerous.
But yeah, let's you touched on something really quickly that I find fascinating, the debate that I've seen online with a lot of people in the Puerto Rican community here in Chicago. What would you say to people that are hesitant to attend, because they are critical of the festival for having an entrance fee? That start with you guys, that not start with you guys? I know that's a more recent development. Historically, more years than not, there has not been an entrance fee for the festival. So just curious, what response would you have for someone that was critical of the festival charging at the door?
There's 2 points to make. Number one, we weren't the first to charge, because in 2018, the festival did charge $2 at the gate. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but we started that. So then up in 2019 with $5. And then this year it'll be a little bit more. So we didn't start that. It was started before us, but we weren't going to go backwards. The second thing, when it comes to festivals in the city, for example, the Cuban festival or the Colombian festival, their fees to enter those festivals are $20 and higher. 75% of the attendees are Puerto Rican. Let's just be honest. So it's not that our people can't afford it, because they're going to these festivals and they're sustaining entities that are for profit. And here we are, an entity that is non-profit. And so the money that we get, not only are we generating like resources and connecting the community with so many different outlets for positivity so that we can impact the negativity that's going on in our neighborhoods. Because that's the only way to battle the violence and the poverty and the lack of education, right? So for us, what we get, we put back 100%. That's it. So I would love to do like a little fast forward and peek into the future where I could see where we're at in 3 years, 7 years, 11 years. I mean, we're literally gonna just impact the whole community and beyond just with what we're doing.
I think that people also fail to realize that there's a cost associated with throwing a festival. So there's fees to use the park. And this happens all over the city. There's fees to use the park. There's fees for fencing. There's a cost associated with even having security. And because we're in Humboldt Park, security is heightened, and we have to pay for off-duty security. Off-duty cops become security for the festival. That's a fee. Even, the performers, and while sponsorship covers stuff, so does charging a fee at the gate. That's the reason why you pay $20 to go to the Cuban Fest, is because they're having all of those fees associated with it. And previously, the organization was able to not charge because of other things that they were doing in the background in terms of sponsorship or things getting waived. But that's not a model that we can sustain consistently. In order for us to be able to do what we do, we have to charge. And it really is going right back into covering the cost of the fest.
I also want to add that what we don't have that previous committees had is Casa Puertorriqueña. Because understand that before, since Casa Puertorriqueña existed, the Puerto Rican committee, the festival committee, can do events all year round. They rented Casa Puertorriqueña for quinceañeras and banquets and stuff like that. So they were generating money all year round to then throw the festival. That's why the festival was free, because everything was handled not only with the money that was generated through Casa Puertorriqueña, but also sponsors and other stuff. That's why the festival used to be free. We don't have that luxury. We just don't. We don't have Casa Puertorriqueña. We cannot host anything all year round. Yes. And so so thank you, Diana. So we have to be creative with the little bit of money that we do generate.
If someone wanted to give like a financial donation, is there a system in place for people to do that if they wanted to give something in kind?
So a great source would be our website, prfestchicago.com. And on there, if they wanted to do anything in kind, there's an application that they could fill out. We have applications and documentation for every single entity that is participating. If you want to become a volunteer, there's also a volunteer link that people can fill out and sign up to become a volunteer. You just get free entrance for the day of your volunteership. And also I really bring food and shirt as well. So there are perks for volunteering. You also get put on an awesome volunteer list, so that way you can join us for other future opportunities to give back to the community. And so, we're always welcome. You can also find us on any of the social medias. You obviously see Mel as the person behind that, and she'll get you connected with the right people if you want to do any of those things that you just mentioned.
I want to talk about another misconception. Violence. That gets Humboldt Park gets in the news a lot for violent acts. Of course, anytime you get a large group of people together, there's a chance that not everything is going to be positive. I think that's just the natural way things kind of work out. But it feels like Humboldt Park particularly gets under a violence microscope every time the Puerto Rican Festival comes around, or any large Puerto Rican celebration. So, what would you say to people that are hesitant to attend the festival because they're afraid of violence?
We are actively working with the Chicago Police Department, the mayor's office, and also a local community organization called Also and Build, to provide a safer neighborhood experience to the festival, not just during the festival, but also before and after the festival as well. And so we are, we're doing our part, but it also requires the community to also take ownership, because we're just, as you see, 5 people here at the table, and if people are concerned about community violence and they live in the community, then they should take a more active role in trying to figure out how to help solve the problem instead of complaining about it. But also, come and take a stroll in Humboldt Park outside of the festival. We have an event on the 18th. It's called a Unity Walk. It's a community healing event that is hosted by the Humboldt Park District, and along with some other community organizations. There's going to be a peace walk around the neighborhood from 10 to 11, and then a series of cultural performances that people can come and watch. So that way you get to see the neighborhood outside of the festival, and then you'll see what you see when we have the festival, and it honestly isn't going to be that much different than what you would normally see. It's just that we're going to bring more resources together in a specific part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, what we're doing at the festival is bringing together things that already exist. So all of these organizations that Marissa's talking about, they're doing work here in Humboldt Park. They exist and they work within the community. The festival is just one event that will bring those things together. And I always think of that phrase like, be the change. If you want to see something like better, then do better and be better. And your presence will help change that narrative and that perspective. We're all very big on social media. Mel is the one that's in charge of it for the festival, but we're huge because that is our existence. Sharing those things counters the narrative of what it means to be who we are and to be where we're from. So
I think also to add to that, we all do events here in this neighborhood consistently. Marissa and I do bodegas 3 times a month in the heart of Humboldt Park. Sabrina and Somos Active team does stuff in this neighborhood. Carlos has done things in this neighborhood. He's coached and worked at a school, as has Marissa. So we're all actively being the change that people want to see, right? You need to explore the neighborhood and not necessarily target it or paint it with the brush of what's happened in isolated events as opposed to consistently. Because I live in this neighborhood and I don't have any issues.
So one thing I would like to add value to is the fact that, let's be honest, we have a huge target on us as a community. And let me tell you something, there are more arrests at a Wrigley Field baseball game for the Cubs than there is in Humboldt Park. Just being honest. And so, but that doesn't get the play, that doesn't get news. And every time something happens, let's say, we know that Costner is not even close to us. If something happens on Augusta and Costner, what does the news say? It happened in Humboldt Park. You understand? So there's a perception, and the media is responsible for it, that Humboldt Park is so violent, and it's not that. It's that it's not even the anything remotely close is going to be labeled Humboldt Park. They don't have to say that. They don't have to say that. They don't do that for Wrigley Field. They don't do that for Bucktown. What they say is Damon and North Avenue, or they'll say Levin and Schiller, but they're not going to say Bucktown. You understand me?
No, I think that's exactly right. I think anytime you paint a whole community with a broad brush or only attribute a certain type of action to one community, you're acting in bad faith. And unfortunately, our media, our mainstream media, I mean, even a lot of times local media often gets it wrong, and paints and writes with generalizations, and it's really problematic. What advice? And again, you don't have to give the secret sauce here, but what advice would you give to people listening who want to start their own Puerto Rican festival in their community? Not saying starting their own Puerto Rican festival here in Chicago, but maybe it's another Puerto Rican community in the diaspora here in the United States. Maybe it's somewhere in another country, or maybe it's just somebody that's not Puerto Rican that's listening that wants to start a festival of their own in their community. What words of advice would you give?
Hold on. So you want us to give you recipe to creating a festival? That's what you're saying.
I want you, and it can be a high level thing. It can be what traits. It can be like, what traits should someone have? What type of mindset should you have if you want to have a festival? You don't have to give us the secret sauce. You don't have to show, go into too much detail. But yeah, what advice would you give? No trade secrets.
So I could share a couple that just came up in my head would be reputate those who are already doing the work, because the team will form itself and everybody will show up and they'll provide and want to do the work. It's not a one-person show, and nor should it be. And you should have people also on your team that challenge you, that you don't always think alike, that have different age, right, and perspectives and experiences. And that in itself, with whatever it is that you do when it comes to doing large events, whether a Puerto Rican festival or just any type of gathering in your community, will work itself out.
Okay, so I want to add value. So I couldn't stay quiet. I'm going to give you flavors of Dr. Pepper, but I'll keep it. Here's the thing, like Marissa so eloquently said, I learned from my mentor, Dr. Samuel Betances, a long time ago. He said, if you're sitting at the table and everybody looks the same and thinks the same, you're doing it wrong. If you're sitting at the table and everybody looks different, but they think the same, you're still doing it wrong. So we are a committee that looks different and thinks different. And that's okay, because if we had a secret sauce, I think that's what it is. It's the diversity of thought. If you don't have that, you're gonna crash. You're not gonna go anywhere. You're gonna be stagnant. The second big piece is that we were already in the community doing work. So anybody who wants to do a festival in their community, if you're not already plugged in, then
you shouldn't do a festival in that community. It met with opposition, in other words.
And so this is what happens when you work together for so long. You can finish each other's sentences. That's that synchronicity, and we got to have that. We got to have that. You want to do a festival? Plug in.
Or call us.
Or a fee. Hey, that's a money generator. We will be consultants to anyone who wants to start a Puerto Rican festival in the diaspora. We're here.
Yeah, you gotta be already plugged in.
You gotta be plugged in.
I think you're onto something there. I'd love that. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
I want to acknowledge that we have a member that walked in. Her name is Angie.
Okay.
Come here, just smile. Just smile. Come here, come on. That's Angie, y'all. That's Angie.
Hey.
You can pull up the chair. I'll tell her what you do.
You guys are all so nice and well done. I'm sorry. I'm a member of Somos Active. So I do the social media for Somos Active. Yeah, I mean, oh my God, I was put on the spot. I was really expecting to stay back there. I love art from our community, and I love everything that we do at Somos Active. Super excited to bring it to the festival this year. Working diligently to make some good things happen.
Thanks for joining the conversation. We were actually just talking about advice that you would give if you would give to somebody that was looking to start a festival in their community or a Puerto Rican festival somewhere in the diaspora, and came up with a pretty good business idea. Yeah. Okay, so
we've talked a lot about the festival. I'd like to, we've touched on it a little bit, but I'd love for you all to share where people can find more information about the festival itself. I know you're on social media, you have the website, but if you could just give us the rundown of what all those handles and the website URL is, I think it would be great for people to be aware.
So social media handles, Facebook, which is Carlos's favorite platform, is PR Fest Chicago. Everything's PR Fest Chicago. So Facebook, Instagram, and then the website is prfestchicago.com. And that's going to give you a rundown on everything. The applications, because we are still accepting applications for vendors and artisans. And then also Somos Arte, because they have their own section for the call of artists for that as well. So there's, and excuse me, Lolita Productions and Las Lolitas for Bodega for also to see how you can be a part of the Bodega experience.
We talked about the festival. To wrap up our conversation for this week's episode, would love to get all your perspectives on a new question we're asking people. We used to ask people what Puerto Rican food, what Puerto Rican restaurant they really like to go to in their neck of the woods. This year we're asking people, what does being Puerto Rican mean to them? And that's really inspired by people's Boricua cards being called, very much inspired by the Jasmine Camacho Quinn coverage of people questioning her Boricuaness for not being born on La Isla, not speaking Spanish fluently. So I just would love to give you all that space to share what being Puerto Rican means to you all. And I'm thinking, Melanie, maybe we start with you, and then we'll go to Sabrina next.
Awesome. So I'm a Puerto Rican and I'm Mexican. My father is Puerto Rican. He was raised in Chicago, born in Chicago, but his other siblings were raised on the island. And so growing up, but then my titis were here. And so growing up, it was just tradition to always spend the Saturday by my titi's house with all my cousins growing up, and the music and the food. And it was just, it's beautiful. And as I gotten older, I've just really wanted to dive deep into my roots on my Puerto Rican and my Mexican side. And being a part of this committee and having these friendships, because we are friends outside of this beautiful committee, they've pushed me to really dig deep and really want to know what it is to be Puerto Rican, and especially a Chicago Puerto Rican at that. Like, there's so many layers to being Puerto Rican at this point. So I'm just very proud. I'm proud to carry my abuelo's last name because it stops with me. My father is the only boy out of 9 sisters, and I'm the only child. So I carry that last name Lopez very proudly because I know that it's a very dominant and common name of Puerto Ricans and Latinos in general, because I know there's Mexicans that carry the name, but I know that mine comes from the island. And so I'm just so prideful of the music, the culture, everything that embodies being Puerto Rican is just beautiful.
Joke, because I came to this realization that as a Puerto Rican, I am like the Cubanito. I was made in Chicago with Puerto Rican inspiration and flavors, right? That's what I am. So I'm very much a Chicago Puerto Rican. When I left here and I went to LA, I was hanging around in their Latino areas, but it was very Mexican and very Central and South American, and it was food I didn't recognize. So then I was like, wow, it just made me feel more rooted in who I am. And part of being a Chicago Puerto Rican and being in the neighborhoods we grew up in too, there's inspiration from other cultures that also make us. When I was in Boston, I met other Puerto Ricans from the island, and they had no idea what an elote was, and I thought that was a really sad thing that they didn't know. And every Chicago Puerto Rican knows what that is, right? So our experience is very unique, it's very special to me, and no one can take that from me. It's just what I know to be true of myself.
I guess it's mostly just embracing of like food and the culture and the music, and like I don't speak Spanish fluently, but I know every word to every single song that we grew up and listening to at my grandma's house, you know. It's hanging out on my grandmother's front porch with my family. It's making sure that we keep those things always, like my baby cousins and I do it now. We make sure to like, you know, meet up and do the same things that we did growing up. So it's just kind of keeping with that. I don't know, I think, yeah, it's just, we've lived here our whole lives, like we're from the neighborhood, being Puerto Rico is a beautiful thing, and like, it's all about embracing it and keeping those like traditions alive.
I'm glad that I'm next, only because I'm gonna get serious, and then Marissa and Brianna can just like bring it back to the fun. I'm gonna connect my answer to what you mentioned about the Olympian, Jasmine Camacho. So I'm gonna say two quick things. Number one, I have a niece who is in the Army, active. She made that her career. At one point, she was stationed in Germany. In Germany, she got married. She had a baby in Germany. But that baby is American. Why? Because the United States says that it doesn't matter that the baby was born in Germany. She was part of the Army and she was on the base, okay? So geography doesn't determine who you are, okay? As how you identify yourself, or even legally by race or whatever. The other example is, I have a friend whose father was a banker for the Bank of Hawaii. And at one time, he was transferred to Thailand to work the branch over there and set up that banking system in Thailand, because they were expanding. He had his wife go with him, and they had a child, because they were in Thailand for 2 years. So I have a friend who was born in Thailand, but he's American. Why? Because the United States legally says that even if you're born outside of the US, your first 2 years, they could already register you as an American citizen, because we just happen to be born abroad, but that's not who you are. So he's not Thai, he's American. And that's very important, because there's always been this debate that if you're not born on the island, you're not Puerto Rican. And that's just BS. Because if legally, I just give you 2 examples of why that's not true for Americans, then why is it true for us? Why do we do that to ourselves? Because let me tell you something, a percentage of the island believes in statehood. So why does it matter if anybody was born in the United States? We're here because the United States is in Puerto Rico. We didn't ask for that. We're doing just fine. We fought for our freedom for 30 years, from 1868 to 1898. Empezando con el grito de Lares, which is already next week on the 23rd. You understand me? So it's like we fought. We had our own currency for 4 months, and the United States took advantage of the crippling Spanish army that we wore down, because we're fierce, and they invaded Puerto Rico, knowing that they could take over Spain and all its properties on this side of the world. That's what happened. We already had our own currency. I don't have to be born in Puerto Rico to be Puerto Rican. Como dice Corregel, hasta en la luna. Si nazco en la luna, soy boricua. My shirt, Puerto Rico, mi sangre. My blood determines who I am. Everybody here in this car, everybody here has Puerto Rican blood. Don't talk to me about where I was born. That's irrelevant. What happens if my mother's pregnant and she was on a flight somewhere and the child is born in the air? What are they then? It's what's in here. It's what's running through my veins. That's what determines who I am.
You got me ready to go to a protest. Man. Oh, you got me fired up now. My goodness. No, I think that's absolutely right. I appreciate that, Carlos.
So when I'm really thinking about what does being Puerto Rican mean to me, it means all of these experiences, and it's unfortunate, but it's also like it makes me want to know more about it because it's questioned so often. And so lately, I would say within the last like 3 years, I've made it more of an effort to not only know the history, but the meaning, and really dig deep into like where does my family come from? What parts of the island does my family exist? And according to Ancestry.com, I am Taína. I do have Taíno blood in me, and that's beautiful. But I also have, Spaniard blood, and I also have blood from Portuguese. And so, like, my name actually comes from Spain. And so that it's just understanding all of those things, that the complexities of what the world was that got me to be here in Chicago, right? It's not just that my mom had to leave for better opportunity because of the current state of Puerto Rico, but it's also the history behind all of that as well, all the way to the Taínos. And that's what being Puerto Rican means to me. Like, I enjoy everything that everyone else said to a T, and then taking that a level deeper and like, okay, what does it really mean? What is Puerto Rican? And I'm hoping that it challenges other people to want to do the same as well, because it's more than just music and food. It is culture in the sense of art. It is culture in the sense of, your creativity. And that's why what we're doing with the festival is so important, to even just our own personal journeys of understanding this very important question that you just asked right now. And we're hoping that that's what you all see too. So that's what important to me.
Wow. So this is all, I gotta follow up all of that. So for me, being half Puerto Rican and half white, this question has come up a lot, right? Like, are you Puerto Rican enough? And it's that famous saying, "Ni de aquí ni de allá." I've always felt that way until I visited the island. There is a pull that the island has for me, to me, that I get nowhere else. Being on the ancestral land of my grandmother, who her home is where her family has existed for generations, like people I don't even know, has rooted me and strengthened me in a way that I never thought possible. So if you have to ask me how I know I'm Puerto Rican, it's that I get my strength from Puerto Rico, and that has come through the side of my grandmother, who, yes, had to leave because of lack of opportunity, but did not want to. And every chance she got, she went back to Puerto Rico because that was her love and her peace and her joy. And as an adult, sitting there and being able to sit on her porch and watch the sunset or the sunrise and hearing the way that people there care for each other. I don't care if I'm from the diaspora. I'm Puerto Rican. Like, I've been told that when I go home to Puerto Rico, I am softer. I am a different person. And if a place can make you feel that way and make you act that way and make you be a better person, then you're from there and that's home. And so you can't take that from me.
This is like my favorite question ever asking on the podcast. I think if I've heard anything or gotten anything out of your responses, it's that the Puerto Rican Festival is in good hands. You all are coming to this, I think, with the right mindset, the right energy, the right passion, and the right mentality of open arm mindset, where it's less hierarchical and more of a wicker basket mentality, where we're all interconnected and we all have a part to play and we all have different gifts that we can bring to the table to really elevate the experience for our people, for our community. So really appreciative of you all being on today. You did mention that you all are pretty active on social media. So would love it if you feel comfortable, if you want to share how people can keep up with each of you on a social media channel that you have or social media channels that you have. Just want to give you the space to kind of share how people can keep up with you beyond just the Puerto Rican Festival.
You can find me as Bodega Brie on Instagram, and also find our community pop-up market, Lolita's Bodega, on Instagram as well as Facebook.
My name is Marissa Diaz-Arce. You can find me on Facebook under Marissa Diaz-Arce. Instagram is Marissa, and I also run the _Lolitas 773 account on Instagram.
So Carlos Jimenez Flores on Facebook, but I also have Instagram, and it's still my name, but underscore in between the names. And I use my whole name because I got a mama.
I mean, I run the Somos Active like Instagram mostly all day long, so you can find me on Somos Active Chicago, on Facebook too. We're super responsive.
My name is Sabrina Alexia. You can find me at Esma Maestra if you like hugs and presents
And education.
Literature. I will, if I see anything about books, I'll talk to you. I have people's pages screenshot with different books I need to read. I love education. I'm known to go on rants about education and what's going on. So that's what you'll find.
My name is Melanie, and you can find me on Instagram as iconchita. If you want to find the latest places to find and support Latino and Brown-owned businesses, please hit me up. I will tell you where to go, because that's just where we got to invest our money. We got to invest it back into the community, and that is my passion and my drive when it comes to my Instagram and seeing all my friends.
And Melanie, while I have you on the mic there, can you also, again, just drop how people can keep up with the festival, website, and social media channels one more time?
Yes. So our website is prfestchicago.com. Facebook is PRFest Chicago. Instagram is PRFest Chicago. And we're not on Twitter or TikTok yet. It's a whole nother platform. Anybody want to be an intern for the TikTok of the festival, please hit us up ASAP, because I have no capacity. TikTokers are a whole other generation. I am in my 30s and I can sit there and watch them. But to do that, y'all in your 20s and like early teens have gotten that TikTok down. And if y'all want to be a volunteer intern, please. This is serious. This is a serious plug, though. I would love to see the festival on TikTok. I just don't have the capacity to do that. Like I just... my ADHD would just get the best of me and I'll never finish a video. But if anybody definitely wants to do that, that is something that we would love to have as an addition to this year's festival.
Awesome. I know how you feel on the TikTok. I stopped using Instagram for 2 months, and then when I got back on, it took me 5 minutes to figure out how to post a photo. I felt so old. TikTok is like way out of my hemisphere. But hopefully podcast gets on there one day too. Okay, y'all, you have been so generous with your time. Appreciate each and every one of you every time you step in or step onto the show. I wish you all nothing but success and good luck.
Thank you.
See ya.